Oi! Yes, it's Tuesday night. The Contender Series is over. You know what that means. It's time for Just the Tip with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. Gonna break down all 13 fights on the UFC Vegas 41 card coming up this Saturday. Can't wait to get into all 13 fights with you guys. Welcome to everybody who just got done watching the Contender Series. I hope you all won some money. I know that the one guy who probably is coming out of there with the most money is my man Sal D'Amato, who will be walking out his corrupt ass with a couple of those old sacks that got the dollar signs on them that he got paid by the mob to judge fights a certain way. Wow. Mr. Parsons just got, and they gave Parsons a fucking contract too. I mean, did anybody watch that fight? Has the whole world gone crazy? Am I the only one that thinks that something happened there that was absolutely wrong? Not only did the wrong guy win the fight, but you give him a fucking contract because he can take a beating? What? My God. But you know what? This is always what we have to do. People like me, I'm creating content all the time. So, you know, when you lose a bet, when you have a rough night, you just got to move on to the next. And I've already been moving on. My man DFS by the numbers and I already did stat diggers on Sunday night. We went balls deep into the stats for all 12 fights that were on the card back then. Now we got an extra one, so it's 13. The link to Stat Diggers in the description. The link to all the stats that you're going to see tonight on Just the Tip here in the description. The link to my Twitter in the description. And we got all you guys hanging out with me here on a Tuesday night. My man DFS by the numbers, the first in the room, saying, let's get some violence. Joaquin Buckley versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan just announced for January. I don't even know what those words mean. I don't even know what those words mean. You must be talking about NASCAR because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about there. Maybe that's a squash match, but I don't understand what Abdul Razak Al Hassan means. That is not a name that means anything to me. So yeah, I can't say. You know, maybe we're talking about a cycling match there. I will not. I can't. My guy Aldo in the room. What's up, Aldo? Love to see those dollar signs, man. McG Motive Med. Don't Tap Podcast. Let's go. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. I haven't seen you in here before. Let's shave some ass and get Brady a Carnelosi OnlyFans subscription. My God. I don't think Brady, I don't know if Brady wants that, man. I don't want to speak for my man, but I'm guessing he might be good. Just guessing. Don't want to put words in his mouth. Aldo Estrada saying Baby Shark is fire. Well, I think she's gonna have a good day on Saturday. We'll talk about that fight for sure here today on Just the Tip. Can't wait to get into that one. Very interesting fights on this card. We got 13 of them. I'm going to show you all the stats. I'm going to tell you what I've seen on tape. Let's pick some winners. Let's find some spots. I'll tell you the bets that I already have. I've actually hit a couple of spots already pretty hard. We'll talk about that. But I got my Paloma with me here. It's Tuesday night. It's the sensual prelude to the Balls Deep breakdown, my friends, and I'm just going to get a little bit loose here. Yeah. I want to quote my man Bleed, who has one of the best MMA channels on YouTube. When one of the nights that Sal D'Amato stole money from good, hardworking individuals like you and me, my man Bleed said, Sal D'Amato bent me over, had his way with me, and he was talking on the post show, after all the fights were over, and he said, I'm not even sure if he pulled out yet. And that's the way I'm feeling right now. I should be up like 1.9 units after making only 2 bets, and I wound up completely even. For the second time in the last 3 cards, completely even. Didn't even win a penny or lose a penny. 0.00. My God, is that frustrating. And Sal D'Amato, fuck you, man. Fuck you. Stop judging. The people in that cage are putting their lives on the line for fucking pennies. and you fuck them out of wins. You fuck people like Solomon Renfro out of wins. Yeah, Chris Lee fucks people like Ramazan Ameev out of wins. Fucking, I could just go on and on. But you know what? We got to try to stay positive, you guys. We got more fights this weekend that we can lose money on thanks to Sal D'Amato's corrupt ass fucking us out of decisions. McG Motive Med podcast saying he hedged with Parsons covered. I had the opportunity to do that. I did not do it. And as mad as I am with Sal D'Amato, I'm even more angry with myself for not hedging out for the free money. But, you know, we're gamblers. And when you get a good spot, when you get in on somebody at minus 110 and then the line runs to minus 400, it leads you to believe that you got in on a good spot. And as a gambler, sometimes you got to let those ride, even when the opportunity presents itself to just give yourself free money. I chose to be a gambler today, and it fucking cost me. Thank you, Sal D'Amato. We got Ansav in the room saying Vegas called the judges. They had to make money back from the line blunder. Yeah, that was DraftKings' mistake. That wasn't even Vegas's mistake, man. It was DraftKings that left those lines out there, and they got murdered on that Caio Baralho line. I'll tell you that right now. And Dan Goldstein saying, Mr. Parson just cashed for me. I feel dirty, need to shower, but I'll take it as the universe balancing out for the Ameev fight. Renfro don't do good against mullets. Yeah, man. And that's the thing as gamblers, you know, this is what happens. This is the game that we play. For every time that Sal D'Amato fucks you out of money that you deserve to win, he might actually be paid to fix a fight for the fighter that you bet on next time. So it's just the way it goes. You know, it's luck. A part of it is luck. And the luck was not on Renfro's side today. And two saying cash big on DWCS plus 9 units. Big up yourself too. Way to go. We love nothing more than to see people cashing tickets, man. And it is a fantastic feeling when it happens. Silky B saying, oh, yeah, another robbery. Here we go. Got to catch the Shade and Hedge live. What's up, Silky B? Thanks for joining us, brother. It's a ping pong match, Dan said. And yeah, he's right, man. It absolutely is. Sometimes the fight gets fixed in your favor. Sometimes it gets fixed in the other guy's favor. So we move on. We got 13 spots on this card to try to make some money back. Come on, Rex, he says. And Backstabber in here saying, Uncle Weezy, good to see you, Backstabber. Thanks for joining us. We got Rex saying, love you, Brady. We got Backstabber saying, Jeff Molina, Seung Woo Choi, plus 120, 5 units. I don't hate it at all. 5 units is a big bet for me. And I wouldn't parlay because that 5 units for me is a max bet. So I probably would never max bet a parlay. But two of the favorites that I don't feel really comfortable betting any of the favorite money lines at the prices that they're at on this card, you guys. But maybe a way to find a little bit of value on this card if you can pick 2 winners, you know, parlay them. And I wish you the best because I think Seung Woo Choi is going to be way better on the feet. We don't see Caceres wrestle much. And I think as long as it stays on the feet, Seung Woo Choi is going to be landing the much heavier shots. So love that bet. And then Jeff Molina, the thing that worries me about the Molina bet, even though I have a bet on Molina myself, is we don't know shit about this Lacerda guy. 12 professional fights. There's only tape on 3 of them. And all 3 of them ended in the first round and were fairly one-sided beatdowns. So, yeah, it's we don't know much about this guy. You know, he could come in and really open some eyes on Saturday. But I wish you luck on that one, Backstab. I like Molina. I have a bet on him to win inside the distance, and I also like Seung Woo Choi quite a bit. And we got Dan Goldstein saying Sal D'Amato judges like Ray Charles reads. You know, that's one of the things that people say. It's like they say about judges, oh, they're incompetent. So they're not incompetent. They get paid. You guys, they get paid. When you fix a fight like that, when it's that obvious, when there's no way that somebody wins a fight and then you turn in the card 29-28 for the guy that fucking almost got slept in the first, got knocked down twice, did not land one impactful shot that even registered on Renfro, and you're going to give that dude the fight, it just means that you're getting money under the table. It's corruption, plain and simple. It's not incompetence. There's a big difference between the two. Corruption is intentional incompetence. Incompetence by itself is just dumb people doing dumb things. It's actually being incompetent. It is an excuse, you know. If you ask me to replace the fucking brakes on your car, you'd be crashing the next day, you know, because I'm incompetent. I don't know how to fix a car. These guys sitting at the, you know, you could put an 8-year-old at the side of the fucking ring and be like, who won that fight? And, you know, and you pull 100 8-year-olds, they're going to tell you Renfro won it. You know, I mean, so Sal D'Amato is not being like, he doesn't have an explanation for why Parsons won. The explanation is they paid me. So that's what happens. It's not incompetence. Plus 700 decision. Yeah, I think Clint hit a plus 1,000 on the decision. So yeah, I mean, for the guys that took advantage of a line that moved way too much and profited from it, good for you. I'm up for, you know, I'm happy for any of the gamblers that made money. But yeah, hit that like button. Renfro Brackers would like to hit Sal D'Amato. Let's get some angles, says McGee, and you're right, man. Rex saying, am I concerned at all that Choi just flew into Vegas today? Park's been in town since Friday. Yeah, that does worry me. I don't like these people flying in across an ocean. It makes a difference, but still, it's 4 days to and if Choi's smart, he's changing his ritual in Korea. You know, kind of getting used to whenever the time is that he's going to fight. Some people do that before they take the flight and kind of get acclimated to the time zone that they're going to fight in. But there's no way to know how much Choi prepared for that, so I can't say whether it's going to matter or not. Yeah, Hammering Hog, I just saw it, man. We were talking about it. What's good, Chris? Good to see you, man. Corrupt Bastards is right. Fucking lost my parlay. It was a 1.8 unit swing for me. I would have been up 1.8 units. Actually wound up even. And my guy Pocket QB, just like boxing, it's all rigged up. Yeah, and boxing's all mobbed up too. But you know what, you guys? You know what isn't mobbed up? Just the tip with Uncle Weezy, because I couldn't even get a union job if I tried, man. I don't even know any mob people. I'm just the one out here getting screwed on my bets. But you know what? I got a ton of stats for you guys. Like I said, they're in the description of the video. You can click on that link down there and follow along. All 13 fights, we're going to break them down from a statistical perspective. We're going to see if my co-host, Smooth Jimmy Apollo, right 52% of the time, is available to hang out with us tonight on Just the Tip. And let's see if I can get this. Yeah, man, he's right there. That means it's time to get into the stats, you guys. And boy, oh boy, do we have a stinker of a fight to start out with. Livinha Souza versus Randa Markos. You guys, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you guys that I tape studied this fight. You know, I would say something to the effect of that you guys don't pay me enough to sit and watch tape on this fight. But the reality is that you guys don't pay me at all. You guys don't pay me shit. I'm here for free. So I'm not watching tape on this fight. I'm not fucking betting on this fight simply because I don't care about it. But I will read off some stats for you guys just in case it helps you guys. If you have some kind of a lean one way or another, I'm not betting on this fight. I don't care about this fight. Livinha Souza, 6 years younger. That's a good advantage. Randa Markos has fought a much bigger percentage of her career at the UFC level, so I'm giving the experience advantage to Markos. As far as finishing goes, Souza's got a 71% finish rate. Markos only a 40% finish rate, but Markos has only been finished in 18% of her losses, while for Souza it's 33% of her losses. If we look at the striking stats, but it's terrible. I mean, no power on either side. Neither one of these ladies has ever landed a knockdown in 22 combined fights. Souza is landing 2.06 and absorbing 3.38 for a negative significant strike differential of about 1.32. Markos has a negative significant strike differential of 0.4. Souza's been knocked down, but she fought Lemos, and Lemos hits like a man. So there's no shame in that. But we got on the wrestling side here. We do see that Markos has got 59 takedown attempts in 22 fights. She's gotten 17 of them, 29%. Souza's been a much more efficient wrestler, 18 takedown attempts in 5 fights, 44%. So she's getting more takedowns per 15 minutes, 2.4 to 1.2 is Souza. She's got a better takedown percentage. She's more active on the ground, attempting 1.2 submission attempts per 15 to only 0.2 for Markos. And both of these ladies are spending a pretty good amount of time in control time positions. Souza being out-controlled, Markos also being out-controlled but by less than 2% of the time. So it looks like Markos spends more time in the grappling. Markos is certainly a little more efficient in the grappling exchanges than Souza is, because Souza has 18 takedown attempts, but Souza's opponents only have 5 takedown attempts. However, despite the fact that Livinha Souza is trying like 3.5 takedown attempts for every one that her opponents are trying, she's being out-controlled at a 16% rate to 28% rate. So I would say that even though Souza is more efficient getting the fight to the ground, it's Markos who's more efficient once it gets there. So if we look at the strength of schedule, Markos definitely fighting the better brand of competition and beating the better brand of competition, but she's on a 4-fight losing streak here, while Souza's 3-2 in her last 5, with losses to Lemos and Van Buren, and wins over kind of like bottom of the barrel UFC competition, Ashley Yoder, Sarah Frota, and Alex Chambers. So I'm giving Markos the experience advantage and the strength of schedule advantage and a little bit of a grappling advantage. So I'll pick Markos. I'll pick her, but I'll say by decision. Markos is very difficult to finish. She's not much of a finisher in her own right. Only 1 finish in 6 UFC wins. So we'll call Markos by decision for the first fight of the night. And then let's move on to what I have as the second fight of the night. Here's my UFC stats page, you guys. There are the Aaron Phillips versus Jonathan Martinez. UFC stats hasn't taken that off of their page yet for some reason. That fight's not happening. So we're going to start with Souza, and we're just going to go in order of this. So the next one is going to be Jeff Molina versus Daniel Lacerda. I did a balls deep breakdown of this one on my channel yesterday, so I will go over this one fairly quickly, but I do have bets on this fight. Both of these guys are very young prospects. Molina 24, Lacerda 25. The experience numbers are almost identical, except for the fact that Lacerda is very, very fast. He has an average fight time of 2.96 minutes. For Molina, it's 6.91 minutes. So both of these guys are really good finishers. Molina, 2 fights at the UFC level. Daniel Lacerda will be making his UFC debut. 100% finish rate in Lacerda's wins, a 77% finish rate in Molina's wins. So we got 20 combined wins. 18 of them have come inside the distance for a 90% combined finish rate in their wins. And in their losses, we got Lacerda has lost by injury once in the first round. I believe it was an arm injury. Molina was subbed in one of his 2 professional losses, 66% loss finish percentage here. Molina has thrown a ton of volume. He's got great boxing. He's got a really nice variety of strikes. He lands kicks, he lands knees, elbows. He's got really nice, fast hands. From what I've seen of Lacerda, which isn't much, there isn't a lot of tape on this guy. He seems to be very good everywhere. Good kickboxer, good straight punches, really solid grappler. He's finished more wins by submission than he has by knockout. Saw him wrap up a really nice cheeky triangle. Also saw him get a nice head kick knockout as well. So the guy seems to be very well-rounded, a very diverse finisher, the same way Molina is here. We don't have a lot of stats, but I would say if you look at the win-loss competition of Lacerda and Jeff Molina pre-UFC, now it's all pre-UFC for Lacerda, I would say Lacerda has fought the tougher brand of competition here. However, Molina with wins over Quileng and Silva at the UFC level, both by decision. But both of those fights, Molina looked very good and landed several shots that I think would have knocked out a lot of people. But Jacob Silva, ridiculously tough. Aori Quileng, the Mongolian murderer, ridiculously tough. I don't know if Lacerda is tough or not because we just haven't seen much of him, and he's been going through the competition. He's been fighting like a hot knife through butter. What I did bet here, you guys, was the fight doesn't go to decision. Well, actually, I think I got the under 2.5 here because I had to smash it as soon as it came out because I didn't want to miss the line movement. But the under 2.5, I got, let's see here. No, I think I got the fight doesn't go to decision. It's currently at plus 120. I think I got it at plus one. Where did I get it? I'm gonna have to look, but it's on my Bet MMA tips. So let's see here. I'll log into my account, you guys, and see where I got this one at. And let's see here. So I got the Molina fight doesn't go to decision at plus 130. That is a 2.5 unit bet. The reason I made that bet, you guys, is the 2.96 minute average fight time for Daniel Lacerda. He's only been out of the first round once in his career. He's been to the second round once. He's never even seen a third round in 12 fights. You add that to the fact that this is a UFC debut. A lot of times you'll see these guys have a massive adrenaline dump after the first round. Both of these guys are excellent finishers. Molina finished 100% of his competition pre-UFC. Daniel Lacerda has finished 100% of his competition. And Jeff Molina has been subbed before, and Daniel Lacerda has a very tricky submission game. And both of these guys throw with a lot of power. I love the fight doesn't go to decision here. You very rarely get a fight doesn't go to decision at plus money when you see somebody like Lacerda here who has only been out of the first round once in his entire career. So those are the exact type of fighters I like to smash fight doesn't go. If they go to decision for the first time, that's great, but you don't have to give up a ton of value here. You're actually getting it at plus money. So I love that bet. But if we go to Lacerda here and we go to that SureDog profile, you guys, I just want to show you the length of the fights. And I could see an adrenaline dump here. I see a very high probability of this finishing inside the distance. So if we start down here at the very bottom, win by armbar, 1:56. Win by triangle, 4:39. Win by punches, 3:22. Win by knee and punches, 4:57. A submission by armbar in only 26 seconds. A submission by armbar in only a minute and 8 seconds. A knockout in the second round against Mateus Severino, 4:59 of the second round. That's the longest he's ever been in any fight. And then everything else first round, 29 seconds, 37 seconds, 2:45, 2:40, and 2:23. So yeah, the average fight time, you guys, is under 3 minutes per fight for Lacerda. Love that under bet. Smashed it for 2.5 units. And just because I really like what I see out of Molina, ever since Molina, I watched all the available tape on Molina, and the first one that there's available is the Chance Camacho tape back here in 2018. And even back then, James Krause was his lead cornerman. So, you go back to then, that's 2018. This kid's only 24 years old. This kid's been working with James Krause and had James Krause as his head coach since he was 21 years old. So, for both of these guys, I don't know much about Lacerda. He's from Brazil. There's no footage available on him, but I do know that James Krause is one of the best coaches going right now in mixed martial arts, and Glory MMA and Fitness has had a really good run lately. I'm backing Molina here. I've seen more of him. There's more to like from what I've seen. Lacerda is kind of a big unknown. I bet also a half unit on Molina to win inside the distance here at plus 235. And I've got 2.5 units on the fight doesn't go to decision. The pick is Jeff Molina by knockout here, you guys. Second round, or I'm going to go second or third round, and I will be keeping an eye on that third round prop because we've never seen Lacerda in a third round before. And if you watch the third round of the Silva and the Quileng fights, Molina puts on a terrifying pace late in fights. He's got fantastic conditioning, and I could see him getting a third round finish here. And I will be fishing for something 10-1 or better in that range. All right, you guys. Next fight, Khama Worthy versus the Black Country banger, Jai Herbert. Can't wait for this one, you guys. If we look at the tail of the tape here, we got a 3-inch reach advantage, 2-inch height advantage for Herbert. Both of these guys are orthodox fighters. We got more experience advantage here for Worthy. 1/6 of his fights at the UFC level, about 1/6 for Herbert as well. About 80 more minutes of cage time for Worthy, but very similar in terms of UFC experience in terms of cage time. It's just Worthy has 4 fights while Herbert only has 2. 90% finish rate for Herbert in 10 wins, 8 by knockout, 1 by submission. Khama Worthy, 9 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission, 11 of his 16 wins coming inside the distance. But Khama Worthy has been finished in all 8 of his pro losses, while Jay Herbert has been finished in all 3 of his pro losses. Now, as much as I like to bet on a fight doesn't go to decision when you've got 2 fighters with 100% finish rates, I like even more to bet the fight doesn't go to decision when you got 2 fighters with an 11 fight sample size of losses where all 11 of those losses have come inside the distance. To me, that is a smash spot to bet a violence bet. Guess who bet a violence bet here? 2.4 units on the fight doesn't go to decision here. It covers both sides. Khama Worthy absolutely has knockout power. We saw it in the Devontae Smith fight, and he can finish fights. He snatched up a real cheeky guillotine against Luis Pena. And in Jay Herbert, we've seen him. If you watch the regional scene footage on this guy's stand-up is nasty. That straight right hand that he throws down the pipe, if you get hit by it, you are going down. He dropped Trinaldo flat on his ass right at the beginning of the second round. And, Trinaldo's notoriously tough, but he dropped him clean. I see Jay Herbert doing the exact same thing to Khama Worthy. Khama Worthy is very, very chinny. I don't like the fact that he has a 3-inch reach disadvantage here. I don't like the fact that he's 34 years old. I don't like the fact that he's been knocked out 7 times in his career, twice in a row now. He took a knockout from steroid freak Atman Azaitar. Those aren't regular knockouts. Those are, potato bag steroid knockouts that separate you from your consciousness. And then Malarkey put it on him too. And, this guy Herbert has got ridiculously heavy hands. And the biggest hole in Jay Herbert's game is the grappling. Look at that terrible 30% takedown defense on Jay Herbert. Look at that terrible 57% takedown defense on Khama Worthy. But then you look, 6 combined fights between both of these guys, 0 combined takedown attempts. Both of these guys are most comfortable on the feet. Both of these guys got knockout power. Both of these guys have been finished in 100% of their losses. Violence bet. I'm picking Jay Herbert. I think Herbert actually gets him out of there in the first round by knockout. That's what I'm going with. And I love the Molina Lacerda fight. I love the Worthy Herbert fight. And then there's this one, you guys. Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett against Laureano Staropoli. Now what? I need a drink. Hang on just a second here. My God. All right. Staropoli's 5 years younger, you guys. But Staropoli is at a 9-inch reach disadvantage. No matter what, that is something that really has to be taken heavily into consideration here. We got 4 more professional fights for Jamie Pickett. We've got about 35 more minutes of professional cage time for Pickett and about 2 more years in the MMA game. Both of these guys have 5 UFC fights. I'm counting Pickett's Contender Series fights, you guys. 1 and 4 for Pickett, 2 and 3 for Staropoli. We do see Pickett with an 82% finish rate and Staropoli with a 78% finish rate. Both of these guys more knockout guys than they are submission guys. While if we look on the losing side, we see that Pickett's been finished in 3 out of his 6 losses, but Staropoli only finished in 1 out of his 4 losses. So 4 out of 10 on the loss side. This means that, I would have to be getting plus money for the fight doesn't go to decision in order to even be remotely interested there. If we look at the striking numbers, they're pretty terrible on the Pickett side, you guys. 2.87 landed, 5.35 absorbed. That means he's basically getting doubled up per minute in terms of the amount of strikes that he is, landing and absorbing. And, 55% striking accuracy for Pickett is solid. While we look at Staropoli, and I mean, it looks like he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat, sitting there at 33.54%. But Staropoli a little bit closer in terms of significant strike differential here, as he lands 3.64 and absorbs 3.85. Both of these guys have been knocked down. Staropoli once in 289 significant strikes absorbed, and Pickett twice in 222. Both of these guys are 4 for 10 on their takedown attempts. Neither one of these guys is getting any kind of real control time. 3.69% control time for Pickett, 1.91% control time for Staropoli. And then if we look at Staropoli's been having trouble getting controlled, as he's getting out-controlled at a 23.2 to 1.91% rate. Pickett's getting out-controlled 10.91% to 3.69%. So it looks like Pickett, even though he's been taken down 5 times, he's being controlled less than a minute for each one of those takedowns. So, I think that this fight is going to take place on the feet, you guys. Even though we've seen these guys get some takedowns, they're both averaging around 1 takedown a fight. It looks like they're both more comfortable on the feet. You might see either one of these guys maybe get a takedown, try to shoot for a takedown at the end of a close round to try to bank a round. But, I think that this is going to mostly be a striking match. And if you look at where the line is on Staropoli, I think he's the better striker. I think he's the more diverse striker. He's definitely faster. And he's definitely fought the much better brand of competition, even though he was fighting at 170, is now moving up to 185. He's going to be the smaller guy, but he's fought the better competition, and he's just looked way better. I mean, Jamie Pickett, you guys, he's 1-4, and he really hasn't shown us much of anything. Getting slept by Jordan Wright in the first round like that. It was so fast. There's just been nothing to be impressed about for Pickett. But if you look at the odds that you're laying in order to get Staropoli here, let's see what we have it at. Staropoli is minus 240. That's the best line that you can get him at. So that's putting you at about a 72% implied probability there that he has to win this fight. And I will not lay that on a guy that's coming up a weight class from 170, even though he's already fought, I think, 1 fight here at 185. He's already fought Dolidze at 185. Pickett's the more natural middleweight here, and I can't lay that kind of juice on somebody that's going to have a 9-inch reach disadvantage, but then is going to have to win a boxing match here. So the pick is definitely Staropoli. There's no way I'm picking Jamie Pickett here. And Staropoli's never been knocked out. So, Pickett's a guy who's known for his power. 73% of his professional wins are by knockout. But the problem is that Staropoli's never been, he has been knocked out once. I apologize. He's been knocked out once, but he is very, very tough. And he's going to decision with guys like Muslim Salikov, Roman Dolidze, Tim Means. All these guys are way better than Jamie Pickett. So the pick is Staropoli, but I cannot lay that kind of juice on him. Not at this line, not with a 9-inch reach disadvantage, and not with somebody who can actually, he's the harder hitter is Pickett. So the pick is still Staropoli, though, and I'm going to pick him to win by decision. And then we're going to move on to the baby shark, the one that you guys have all been waiting for. Tabatha, the baby shark, Ricci against Maria Oliveira. So, Oliveira going to be much bigger, you guys. She's very long and lean. She's got a Muay Thai base. She has some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience, but she does not show it much. Her BJJ looks much better when she's on top than when she's on the bottom. When she was on the bottom against Kana Asakura in Japan, she looked god-awful down there. And Asakura is not exactly like this absolute crazy wizard on the ground. So Asakura really kind of made her look silly down there. And then if you look at the wins that Oliveira has gotten on the regional scene, we're not seeing anything impressive there. She does have some impressive losses. I mean, Marina Rodrigues, Kana Asakura, but there's not much here on Oliveira. She is going to be much bigger, much longer, and she's going to be the way better striker. If she can keep this at range, she can win this fight, absolutely, because Tabatha Ricci is going to be at an 8-inch reach disadvantage here, a 4-inch height disadvantage, and Tabatha Ricci is a grappler by trade. She's not going to win a striking battle with this girl, but I also think that Tabatha Ricci knows who she is, and because Oliveira is not like a one-punch knockout threat, she should be able to kind of walk through the wood chipper, get close, and then Ricci having that judo base, I think it's a great way to get takedowns against a tall girl like Oliveira. You don't have to shoot for single or double legs for these girls that can always find a base when they're super tall. You just want to go in, get your arms around them, bring them close, hip in, and then you can get the sweeps, trips, reaps, or throws that'll get you right into half guard or side control. And then that way you can really work and fish for submissions. And Maria Oliveira has been finished in 3 of her 4 professional losses inside the distance, twice by submission, once by knockout, while Tabatha Ricci in her only professional loss, which was to flyweight super prospect Manon Fiorot, was also inside the distance. So when I've got this is let's be real here. This is a low-level women's fight for the UFC. You've got only 6 professional fights for Tabatha Ricci, 16 professional fights for Maria Oliveira, but not a lot of impressive wins in there. Her last win over Inila Tobosa, she's 0-0. So, she's really not beating any girls that have winning records on the regional scene. And the same is true for Tabatha Ricci because she's kind of building her record. She's only got 6 fights. So this is a very low-level fight. But one thing that I do like is 4 out of 5 losses coming inside the distance. And then you've got a debut for Oliveira here. And when Oliveira fought Marina Rodrigues in the Brazilian Contender Series, she quit in that fight, you guys. She was getting tagged, and she said no mas and walked away. So this is not a woman that strikes me as the type who's going to fight through the fire or fight through adversity when the fight doesn't start going her way. And Tabatha Ricci's really dangerous on the ground. She does have a very good judo pedigree, a very good grappling pedigree, submission grappling pedigree. So if she's able to get this fight to the ground, and Oliveira has not shown good takedown defense, even on the regional scene, she's getting taken down by pretty much every time people shoot in on her. So I think Tabatha Ricci should be easily be able to get this takedown and work on top. And I think she will find a submission by the 2nd or 3rd round here. Oliveira does not seem the type to be the type to stage a comeback. If she gets into adversity soon, I think this fight is getting finished. And on the other side, Oliveira is so long that if Tabatha is sloppy on her entry, she could get caught with a big knee or an uppercut. And, we've seen her knocked out before as well. So for me, I jumped on the under 2.5 on this fight for plus 165 when it opened. I mean, I couldn't believe we were getting that kind of an implied probability, you guys, like at around 37%. You're talking about a low-level women's fight where 80% of their combined losses have come inside the distance, which is like a minus 400 implied probability. If that's how you're handicapping what the line should be, you're talking about getting a 37% implied probability up at about 80% implied probability. So I had to jump on that. That's a 1.5 unit bet for me, you guys. And I am going to be sticking with that one. I like Tabatha Ricci to win this one inside the distance by submission. Maria Oliveira should be an interesting test for her. We're going to have to see how well Ricci can close the distance and how, effective and efficient her takedown offense is. But, Tabatha, let's just say she's very, very marketable for the UFC. So after she, took an ass shaving from Manon Fiorot after stepping in on short notice up a weight class, this fight's going to seem like a walk in the park compared to Manon Fiorot. And I think this fight is exactly her speed. I think Maria Oliveira is a perfect type of opponent for Tabatha Ricci to turn it around and get her first UFC win against. And I'm predicting that this fight, no matter who wins it, finishes inside the distance. And I think there's quite a bit of value, you guys, right now on the under for this fight. Yeah, and they're still only showing 2 props, which is ridiculous. Ricci inside the distance is plus 175, and Ricci by decision is plus 165. Let's refresh this page and see if any of these props have dropped anywhere else, because I know that I don't know why they're not showing this, but they have props on Bet Online for this fight. I know because, or no, they don't. That's right. I only bet the under, but they don't have props on that. Oh, well. You guys, I'm picking Ricci inside the distance by submission. Sorry to go off on that little tangent. Let's move on to this one. David Onama fighting out of Glory MMA. Uganda, stand up. This is your first fighter from Uganda that will ever be in the UFC. One David Onama. Very exciting. What's not exciting is the fact that he's getting fed to Mason Jones, who is an absolute killer. So I don't know anything about Onama, you guys. I just found out about this one prior to the Contender Series. I got it into my spreadsheet here, but I have not even seen any of the tape. He's not on the tape index yet. I don't know where to find any of these fights. The promotion that he was fighting in prior to the UFC, I know that he was in some kind of a Kansas City promotion at first, and then the promotion he was fighting out of, David Onama, was FAC. So I don't even know what FAC is. Independence, Missouri Fighting Alliance Championship. Okay, so that's what it is. Let's see if he was the main event. Yeah, he was the main event. Got a win over Brad Robeson, who was 4-2 going into that fight. So, yeah, that's where we're coming out of here for Onama. I don't know what you guys are talking about here in the chat. Do you guys have anything I need to know about this Onama guy? I know he trains out of Glory. I know he is a fast finisher, and I know that he had a really good lengthy amateur career. Look at all these amateur fights. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 amateur fights. He won every single one of them over guys 6-0, 8-1, 5-2, 3-2, 4-6, 0-1, 3-1. So he's got some good amateur wins. And then when we go up to the pro wins, Pintos 2-0, Big Head, Raymond Big Head is one of the guys that he beat. And he beat this guy with a guillotine choke in 12 seconds. How do you even get a guillotine choke in 12 seconds? That's ridiculous. Well, maybe the guy's got a really big head and then he can get under the chin easily. But anyway, Sam Hernandez 2-0, Antonio Castillo Jr. 11-13, Sam Agushi 2-0, Overton 8-4, Plazola 16-11, and Brad Robeson was 5-1 evidently going into that fight. Anyway, that's what we've got on him. I'm picking Mason Jones because I know Mason Jones is a stud. I'm going to have to look into Onama. I have a hard time believing he's going to find any success taking a fight on 5 days' notice against Mason Jones here, but it's fighting. You never know, and I can't speak about this one intelligently, you guys, because I haven't even seen any tape. If any of you guys have seen any tape, let me know here in the chat. Let's see where we're at right here. Would like to see the fight doesn't go to decision. Prop says Headley won. DFS by the numbers saying violent spot here. Hoping they set it at 2.5. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I would sprinkle Onama because of James Krause, 100% finish rate. Anybody concerned about the size? Remember that Nunez woman a few weeks ago who came in and murked that Muay Thai champion? Yeah, Bea Malecki. But I think that was Joe Benavidez. I'm still not convinced that that's not Joe Benavidez in drag. But, until somebody sees those two, Josiane Nunez and Joe Benavidez in the same room at the same time, I'm not on board with it yet. That's all I'm saying. And then you guys are saying that Ricci is minty fresh and all that stuff. And I'm not going to disagree with any of you guys about that one. And I think that she wins the fight too. I think her ground game is on a different level. I think Mason Jones should take care of this Onama, but I have to watch the tape, you guys. I can't give you guys an official pick, but Mason Jones is minus 700 right now on the books. So I think the bookies think he's actually going to win this fight. Minus 600 for Mason Jones. So yeah, you guys don't need me to tell you that he's probably going to win this fight. But let's get into a really interesting one here, you guys. Jun Young Park, the Iron Turtle, going up against Gregory Robocop Rodrigues. This one's going to be a treat. Rodrigues is going to be the much bigger dude here. It says that he's 29, but he looks like he's about 50, dude. He kind of looks like Barack Obama. It's actually kind of creepy. He's training out of X Gym, is Gregory Rodrigues, and we got Jun Young Park coming out of Korean Top Team. Park with the experience advantage, about twice as much cage time, similar time in the game, slightly higher percentage of his career, Park's career, fought at the UFC level. If we look at the finish rates here, we got a 61% finish rate for Park, 38% by knockout, 23% by sub, and an 80% finish rate for Rodrigues. Rodrigues, an equal opportunity finisher, 4 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission. If we look at the 7 combined pro losses for Rodrigues and Park, we have got 4 out of 7 of them happening inside the distance. Jun Young Park has lost by submission twice, which is a bit of a concern because Gregory Rodrigues is legit on the ground. And then Gregory Rodrigues has been knocked out twice, and that's of concern because Jun Young Park has some really nice hands on him. So this is a really interesting fight. Jun Young Park uses wrestling when it's to his advantage, when he has an advantage on the ground. But unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have an advantage here on the ground against Rodrigues. And Rodrigues has 100% takedown defense, but Jun Young Park cannot boast that same number as Park is 46.15% takedown defense. He's getting taken down 1.92 times per 15 minutes. But if we do a quick little calculation here, we see 9.55% control time against and 55 minutes of cage time. So about 5.4, 5.3 minutes of control time on 7 takedowns attempted, or 7 completed takedowns, means that he's not being controlled for long periods of time on the ground when he is being taken down. But he has been submitted by Anthony Hernandez, who got him quickly, so he can be finished there. And then we see that if we look at the striking stats, both very impressive for both of these guys. Jun Young Park with a 1.2 significant strike differential, lands 4.37, absorbs only 3.17. A positive 1.7 significant strike differential for Rodrigues, landing 4.91, only absorbing 3.18. Rodrigues showing a really nice 65% striking defense, but he's been knocked down on 1.82% of the significant strikes that he has absorbed. So he's been knocked down once and 55 significant strikes absorbed. Both of these guys get takedowns at a pretty good rate. 58% for Park. He's 11 of 19. But I think if we take out the John Phillips fight, he's not nearly as good of a wrestler outside of that fight. But he can absolutely go to takedowns, get them over and over again, and use them to win some minutes and bank some rounds. So he's very dangerous. But the problem with that game plan against somebody as dangerous on the ground and as big and strong as Rodrigues, you could get caught up in something, or you could wind up getting reversed on the ground, wind up on the bottom. So I think Park is going to be best served to kind of stay standing and work his hands here. And he should try to pressure Rodrigues so he doesn't get taken down. Because if he winds up on that back foot and gets his back up against the cage, Rodrigues could kind of get him up against there and maybe drag him to the ground, because Jun Young Park's takedown defense has not been good, but his get-up game has been good. If we look at the strength of schedule numbers here, you guys, nothing impressive on either side. 0.88 ratio for Park, 0.5 ratio for Rodrigues. So neither one of these guys is getting what I would call fantastic wins in the UFC. Barrio, Phillips, and Nchukwi for Park, And then we got Todorovic for Rodrigues, while he lost to Jordan Williams in his contender series. And then he's got wins over Josh Fremd, Al Matavo, Brandon Hester. Those are regional scene wins. So I would say Park's got a little bit better strength of schedule here, but I give Rodrigues the grappling advantage, the tail of the tape advantage, the finishing advantage. And I think on the feet, it's actually close. So I think I'm going to actually go with Gregory Rodrigues here in the upset. I think that he can maybe use his wrestling and use his jiu-jitsu and hang close in the striking long enough so that he can win enough minutes to win a decision here. But I do think that this fight could potentially be finished either way. But if Rodrigues finishes it, I think it'll be by a submission. And if Jun Young Park finishes it, I think it'll be by a knockout. But my pick is going to be Gregory Rodrigues here by decision. Let's move on to the next fight here. We're about 50 minutes in, and it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more fights to go. So yeah, that's pretty good. We're going at a pretty good pace here, you guys. Yeah, okay, so Michael Burkett just saying, my man Mike here saying, Uncle Weezy, I'm having a hard time seeing the stats page you're showing. Normally it's in better focus. Maybe it's just my phone, but as always, appreciate you. Yeah, so you're watching on your phone. Usually what I do, Mike, is I will zoom in at 150 when I'm doing my balls deep breakdowns, but then I have to move the page around in order to get all the stats on. So I know it's more visible like this, but I can't get everything on the same page, and then I've got to dick around while I'm doing the show, which is why I put the link to the stats in the description. But unfortunately, since you're on your phone, you can't download that. So I apologize for that. Just know that you can always, if you watch on your laptop, you go back and watch, you can always download the stats and see what I'm talking about with the numbers. I just hate having to screw around going up and down because I can't fit all of it on the same page when I zoom in. So thanks for the feedback, Mike. I appreciate it, but I've got to keep it at this level so I can see all of it at once without having to scroll around. And like I say, all the stats available for free. Please click on the link at the bottom of the page in the description of the video, and you can get all this stuff. But right now, let's just keep talking about this one, right? Nick Negumereanu against Hurricane Ike Villanueva. This is one of my picks to be fight of the night, you guys. I really like this one. Both of these guys are predominantly boxers. They both have heavy hands. They're both going to be susceptible to leg kicks, but it looks like neither one of these guys really throws leg kicks. Nick Negumereanu, he's got a head like an Easter Island statue, you guys. This guy's got a ridiculous chin, and I don't think Hurricane Ike has any chance of knocking this guy out, even though he hits extremely hard. Negumereanu's got a legendary chin on him, and I don't see him going down to anybody. You would have to get him on the ground and submit him if you're going to beat him, in my opinion, which is basically what Safarov did to him when he beat him. He took him down and ground and pounded him out, and it was the ref having to step in. But Negumereanu wasn't going anywhere, you guys. He's super tough. Both of these guys hit hard. We see Ike Villanueva does have a knockdown, while Negumereanu doesn't. But Ike has been knocked down 3 times in 149 significant strikes landed, and Negumereanu throws straight, heavy hands. So this is going to be a slobber knocker, and neither one of these guys is really like a one-hitter quitter type of knockout artist, although we did see Ike Villanueva drop Vinicius Moreira with a right hook that he just didn't see at all, and it absolutely slept him. But I even think you could hit Negumereanu in the head with a shovel, and he'd probably just laugh at you. This guy's got a really good chin, you guys. So I'm looking for a war here. I'm looking for an absolute war. And I think if one of these guys decides to kind of go to leg kicks here, low leg kicks in particular, because they're both boxers, because they're both so heavy on their lead leg, that would be a great tactic to slow down their opponent. But I haven't seen it from either of these guys yet in the past, so I can't count on it, and that's a shame. But from what I have seen of these guys, Villanueva is going to have faster hands. He's going to be the better boxer, but Negumereanu is going to probably take whatever he dishes out. And I think the attrition by the third round will be too much for Villanueva. And I think we're going to see Negumereanu beat him. I love the conditioning. He's going to be the bigger guy. He's got a 5-inch reach advantage here. And in a boxing match, when neither one of these guys is throwing many kicks, I think that's going to be a big advantage for Nick. I like the conditioning of Nick quite a bit. And he beat a better boxer than Ike Villanueva and Alexa Khama in his last fight out, while we saw Prachnio absolutely just chew up Ike Villanueva. So the pick here is going to be Nick Negumereanu, and I'm going to pick him by third round knockout here, you guys. And then the next fight that we have, in all honesty, is a fight that I have literally no feel for whatsoever. But I'm leaning one way, and I'm leaning towards the Dwight Grant side for the following reasons. First of all, Francisco Trinaldo is 43. And that's what it says on the birth certificate. If somebody walked up to you and said he was 56, would you really be surprised? I mean, I wouldn't. Not at all, dude. I mean, Trinaldo is an absolute veteran, a stud. He's fought everybody. Masaran Duba is the nickname, and that is the name for a Brazilian redwood, and that's what this dude is made out of. He's going to be the much smaller guy. He's going to be the much older guy, even though Grant's no spring chicken in his own right. He's 37 years old. But Grant's going to be 4-inch taller, 6-inch reach advantage here. Grant fights out of both stances, while Trinaldo's a southpaw. Obviously, Francisco Trinaldo has the experience advantage here. 34 professional fights, 379 minutes of cage time. He's got 250 more minutes of cage time than Dwight Grant does. And he's got 23 UFC fights, while Grant has 6. We've got 215 more minutes of UFC cage time for Trinaldo. Grant has finished all of his wins by knockout. So 64% of his wins by knockout, 0% by sub, 36% by decision. And we've got a 54% finish rate by Trinaldo, 35% by knockout, 19% by sub. And then we see Grant has been knocked out once, and Francisco Trinaldo has been subbed in 3 of his 8 losses, but he's never been knocked out. If we look at the striking stats, both of these guys land more than they absorb. Grant a little more impressive at 3.36, only absorbing 2.17, while Trinaldo 3.08 landed, 2.64 absorbed. But Grant's been knocked down on 2.33% of the significant strikes that he's absorbed. Trinaldo's been knocked down on about 0.5% of the ones that he's absorbed. And both of these guys have shown some pretty good power in their own right. Trinaldo, the more active wrestler, 42 takedown attempts in only 23 fights, while Grant has only attempted 2 takedowns in 6 fights. He's gotten both of them. Trinaldo getting his takedowns at a 45% rate, but remember, that's at lightweight. He's now up at welterweight. He's going to be the much smaller guy. So I didn't like what I saw out of Trinaldo really in the Herbert fight. I thought Herbert was absolutely piecing him up. And then in the Salikov fight, I mean, Salikov really outclassed him, and I'm surprised that Salikov wasn't able to finish him, but that's how tough Trinaldo is. Up here at this level, I just don't think Francisco Trinaldo at 43 years old is just going to be dangerous at the welterweight level right now, fighting younger guys, fighting bigger guys, and fighting guys that have a lot less tread on the tires. You know, he's getting wins over guys like John Makdessi and Jay Herbert, who made his UFC debut there. But, you know, really, you know, Grant, this is his 7th UFC fight. This is not a rookie. It's going to be his 15th professional fight, and the dude hits like a truck. And he's only being controlled 9.75% of the time. So I think it's going to be a kickboxing match, you guys. And I think it's going to be a fairly close kickboxing match. But I am picking Dwight Grant to win this one. And I'm going to say by decision because Trinaldo's never been knocked out and because Dwight Grant ain't subbing anybody. So, yeah. Father Time is undefeated. I see Nigel Lee in the room. Good to see you, Nigel. And he's saying Trinaldo can't defeat Father Time for much longer. Yeah. Father Time is absolutely undefeated. That's why I'm picking Dwight Grant, and I'm picking him to win by decision. Now, Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy versus Seung Woo, Sting Choi. We've got Choi is going to have a 1-inch reach advantage and a 2-inch height advantage, and he's 5 years younger. Caceres is going to have a clear experience advantage here, both at the UFC level and overall. When we talk about finishing skills, Caceres, 33% by sub, 17% by knockout for a 50% finish rate overall. And he's actually finishing 31% of his UFC wins. So he's gotten 4 of his 13 UFC wins inside the distance, while Seung-Woo Choi has finished 6 of his 10 wins inside the distance, all of them by knockout, and he's got 1 of his 3 UFC wins by knockout. When Caceres loses fights, he's getting submitted more times than not at 58%. He's lost 8% by knockout. So both of these guys are losing about 2/3 of their combined losses are inside the distance. So if we're saying 64% for Caceres, so that would be like, yeah, it's 66. So it's 8 out of 12 of his losses inside the distance and 2 out of 3 for Choi. So it's 10 of 15. So, I could see betting a fight doesn't go here at better than -200 and actually having a chance of it coming in. But I would still rather get around -150 or something like that, just on the losses, just handicapping it on the combined losses. If we look at the overall striking stats for these guys, Caceres and Choi landing more significant strikes than they absorb. Seung-Woo Choi, 2 knockdowns in 198 significant strikes landed, while we see Caceres has probably got about 4 knockdowns in 1,187 significant strikes landed. So, 0.5 knockdowns per 15 minutes for Choi, 0.21 for Caceres. Choi has never been knocked down. Caceres has been knocked down 4 times in 815 significant strikes absorbed. I'm giving Choi the striking advantage here. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage. He's a Korean world Muay Thai champion. He's legit on the feet. Caceres is kind of flashy, but doesn't show a ton of power. And then if we look at the strength of schedule numbers, this is what's interesting. We got 24 UFC fights for Caceres, and somehow he's managed to only rack up a 1.05 ratio. This means he's getting fed low-level competition almost constantly. If you look at his wins, there's barely a winning record on the wins, and he's actually losing the guys that have losing records on the aggregate. So Alex Caceres has fought a lot of low-level UFC competition, while Seung-Woo Choi made his debut against Movsar Evelev and then came on to Gavin Tucker, and then now he's put on a 3-fight winning streak here against Suman Mokhtarian, Yusuf Zalal, and then Julian Erosa by knockout. So I see this taking place largely on the feet. Caceres getting takedowns at a 78.57% rate and controlling his opponents 14.43% of the time, which is very impressive on only 11 takedowns, because at that control time percentage, I'm looking at about 42 minutes of control time on only 11 career takedowns for Caceres. So when he gets takedowns, he's very effective with them. And he's got some of his wins are by submission. So 4 of them actually, I think, by submission, 3 of them. But he's very efficient. He's only attempted 14 takedowns, but he's had 117 attempted against him. And despite that, he's only being out-controlled by 9%. So even though his opponents are 8 times more likely to shoot takedowns, they're still barely out-controlling him. So I think that Caceres is he's very efficient on the ground, and he's very good defensively on the ground. But the problem is that Choi doesn't shoot a lot of takedowns. He's only shot 7 in 5 fights. He's gotten 4 of them in his own right, and he's getting 19% control time in his own right. And he's fighting control time monsters like Evloev and Tucker and Zalal. So it's very impressive. I think both of these guys are better defensively with their grappling than they are offensively, but they're both not very likely to shoot for takedowns. So I do see this taking place on the feet. I see Choi being technically better there. I see him being more powerful. And it's just that Caceres has, probably seen more. He's way more experienced. But the experience advantage doesn't mean as much to me in this spot, because the experience that he's getting at the UFC level is consistently against bottom of the barrel UFC competition. So I'm not too thrilled by the experience advantage of Caceres. I'd rather go with the size and length advantage of Choi, the power advantage of Choi, and the UFC strength of schedule advantage of Choi, frankly. I mean, Caceres has had a couple of tough fights, but he's lost almost every tough fight. I think his best wins are Cole Miller and somebody else. It's not impressive, you guys. So I'm going to be picking Seung Woo Choi here. I'm going to pick him to win by decision, though. Let's go on to the next one. We got Jessica Rose Clark going up against Joselyne Edwards. So Joselyne Edwards is going to be much bigger and much younger. She's 7 years younger, 3-inch height advantage, and a 6-inch reach advantage. The experience numbers are actually kind of similar, although Rose Clark has had twice as many minutes in the cage. Rose Clark, 206.5 minutes of career cage time. Joselyne Edwards, 103. And Rose has been doing this about 2 years longer. So Jessica has 5 UFC fights, Joselyne only 2. The cage time in the UFC for Jessica around 75 minutes. It's 30 minutes for Edwards. Rose Clark, 50% finish rate overall. Edwards, 80% finish rate overall. Edwards has been subbed in one of her 3 losses. Jessica Rose Clark has never been finished in 6 professional losses. So this one is very, very likely to go to decision. We got Jessica Rose Clark landing 4.68 significant strikes a minute, only absorbing 3.98, while we got Edwards landing 4.2 and absorbing 3.83. We've seen Clark only shoot 9 takedown attempts in 5 fights. She's gotten 5 of them. Edwards 1 for 6 on her takedown attempts. Really more of a kickboxer is Edwards, although when the fight does get to the ground, she's had a lot of success getting arm bars against her opponents. So Edwards is not helpless on the ground. She had Wu Yanan in a very tight armbar for half of this first round, I'd say. So she can absolutely defend on the ground. But since neither one of these ladies is very persistent with the offensive wrestling, I do see this fight taking place on the feet the majority of the time. And while it's on the feet, I actually kind of like Edwards. Rose Clark's a pretty good kickboxer in her own right, but she's going to be at a 6-inch reach disadvantage here. She's going to be the taller. Edwards is going to be the taller woman by 3 years, and she's going to be 7 years younger here. So they're at different career trajectories at this point. And Clark has got good takedown defense. Edwards has not shown great takedown defense thus far. So I think Jessica Rose Clark, if she wants to win this fight, is going to have to mix in her wrestling and be smart about when she does it too, because conditioning is going to be important here. And if she goes too much to the wrestling and is unsuccessful doing it, I could see Edwards piecing her up on the feet here. But I want to take a look real quick here, you guys, at the wrestling numbers, offensive in particular, for Jessica Rose Clark, because I think that's actually pretty important. I want to see what she's trying on her takedown attempts. So she was 1 of 1 against Sarah Alpar, as we can see over here. And I will zoom in just because we're looking at only this one page. So against Alpar, that's too much. 125. That's still not, all right. Well, let's do this. That's Alpar, Kianzad, Van Zant, and Beck Rawlings. And we see 1 of 1 against Alpar, 0 of 2, 0 of 0 against and then 2 of 3 in her first 2 fights. So we see the wins here, here, and here. And then we look at the control time. In the fights that Jessica Rose Clark is winning, she outcontrols Sarah Alpar 498 to 208. She outcontrols Paige Van Zant 337 to 153. And she outcontrols, who is this? can't even get it. Beck Rawlings out controls Beck Rawlings 319 to 142. And we see in the two fights that she's lost, she's been out controlled 2 to 125 and 18 to 49. She is over 2 in the takedowns, or she's over 2 on takedowns in the two fights that she's lost, and she is 5 of 7 on takedowns on the 3 fights that she's won. So I would say if Jessica Rose Clark is going to win this fight, she's going to have to go to the wrestling. She's going to have to be successful with it in at least 2 of the rounds and really accrue probably about a round's worth of control time in the entirety of the fight. And if she can do that, she should probably pretty easily win the fight, because I think it'll be pretty close on the feet. But if she's unable to do that, I could see Joselyne Edwards winning a decision here. Boy, I guess we're just going to have to see how good Clark's offensive wrestling is here and how much she's willing to go for it. Since I would like the line if I knew that she would be going to that wrestling a little more often. But the fact is, the most amount of takedowns that she's ever attempted in a fight is 3. So I think she might need to attempt more than that in order to have success and clearly win the fight here against Edwards. But I'm still going to pick her to win. I'm going to pick her to win by decision, because Rose Clark has never been finished in 6 losses. And Edwards has only been submitted. She's really tough in her own right. So I'm going to call it Jessica Rose Clark by decision. And this is one I'm thinking about doing a balls deep breakdown on tomorrow. We've got Grant Dawson versus Ricky Glenn. Grant Dawson, 5 years younger. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, is Grant Dawson, and Glenn's going to be 2 inches taller. Glenn is a southpaw. Grant Dawson fights out of both stances. Pura Vida BJJ for Ricky Glenn. Glory MMA for Grant Dawson. So, and both of these guys are Americans. We got Ricky Glenn with 29 career fights to Dawson's 18. Ricky Glenn with more than twice as much time in the professional cage and about twice as long of a professional career at 15 years. So Ricky Glenn's been fighting since he was 17 years old professionally. Oh, wow. And Chris Lang Pearson saying apparently Rose Clark has been training at AKA. Well, that is something that I like to hear if I'm on the Rose Clark side, because that is a fantastic place to get in some wrestling work. I think wrestling is going to be a key to victory in this fight, especially on the Clark side. So if she is training at AKA, I like the spot a lot more for you. And my guy, Daz Files saying it's a nice feeling when Weezy backs up your bet with some comforting words. No, don't mention the other chick. So, yeah. Grant Dawson, you guys, is fantastic with his wrestling. He drowns people with it. So we've got Dawson at an experience disadvantage here, but Dawson quite the finisher here, 91% or 89% finish rate here, 65% by sub, 24% by knockout, and we got Ricky Glenn with a 73% finish rate in his own right. And on the loss side, we've seen Glenn finish twice in his 6 losses, and Grant Dawson finished in his only professional loss by knockout. So Ricky Glenn coming off a pretty long layoff here, you guys. He came back against Joaquim Silva in his last fight, knocked out Joaquim early in that first round. It was in the first minute. Ricky Glenn has shown some decent takedown defense in the UFC. He's shown a very good get-up game in the UFC, which is going to be very important in this fight. Grant Dawson is relentless with his wrestling. Grant Dawson has attempted 44 takedowns in only 6 fights. He's gotten 15 of them. He's getting 55.22% control time for and 4.26% control time against. So, we got 60% of Dawson's fights are taking place in control time positions. That's where he wants it. His boxing's okay. His striking is serviceable, but it's not going to be as good as Ricky Glenn's. Ricky Glenn is much sharper on the feet. He's got much straighter punches. They come down the pipe. They're crisp. They're fast, and he hurts people. In particular, that Gavin Tucker fight was hard to watch, actually, the beating that he put on him. But he lands big shots. Dawson just relentless with that wrestling. It's that 55% control time for and 4% control time against. It's really hard to ignore. Ricky Glenn, not much of an offensive wrestling game in his own right, showing 66% takedown defense. He's successfully defended 22 of 33 takedown attempts. But in those 11 takedowns, he's only been controlled for about 18 minutes. So it's less than 2 minutes of control time per takedown attempt. Ricky Glenn, if this were a bigger cage, I'd like him a little bit more as an underdog pick here. But this is in the small cage. And Ricky Glenn, a former 145er, moving up to 155. So he's not going to be this huge 155er, because Grant Dawson is also a former 145er who now is making his second fight at 155. So both of these guys moving up, but Grant Dawson, much younger, 2-inch reach advantage, a relentless wrestling game and submission attack. Ricky Glenn is really good all around, though, you guys, and he might be able to surprise you with some good takedown defense, some good footwork, and some good movement. And it may not be easy for Ricky Glenn to get this fight for Grant Dawson to get this fight to the ground. We did not see Grant Dawson have success with takedowns against Leonardo Santos until the third round. And if he didn't knock him out in those last 2 seconds of the third round, that fight might have went to Santos there. I'm not saying Ricky Glenn's on Santos's level, especially with the defensive wrestling, but as long as this fight stays on the feet, Ricky Glenn, I think, is going to have an advantage here. And I also think that his grappling game is good. His defensive wrestling is solid, and that he might surprise some people here in terms of being able to stay off of his back and make this a really grimy, close fight. I'm picking Grant Dawson here, you guys, but I am not betting him, not at the current line. But the one sprinkle that I will be looking to add here for this fight is potentially a Grant Dawson third round prop at plus 1,000 or better. The thing about Dawson is that he's got great conditioning, and he does bring that relentless pressure and wrestling attack. And if he has success with that attack in rounds 1 and 2, oftentimes you'll see people break when their opponent gets that takedown in the third round. They realize, shit, man, I'm not getting up. And if I don't let this guy submit me, he's just going to pound my face in for the next 4.5 minutes. So sometimes you'll see people quit. And Grant Dawson has the kind of pace and wrestling heavy attack that can get those third round finishes if your conditioning isn't where it needs to be. So I'll be looking at that, maybe looking to play that, but the pick is going to be Grant Dawson. But I got a feeling about Ricky Glenn here, you guys, and the tape that I watched on him made it so that I cannot bet Grant Dawson in this spot. I think the line is a little bit too wide. That being said, I think he's going to win this fight, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than some people think. And then that leaves us, you guys, with the main event. This is a good one. This is a very, very, very hard fight for me to pick, because when I look at these two guys, I see Costa having crazy power and really good takedown defense. And I think that as long as this fight stays on the feet, that Marvin Vettori's striking is not even close to being as dangerous as Paulo Costa's. Also, Paulo Costa's size makes it difficult for people to take him down and hold him down. And the stats that I want to just point out to you here that jump off the page, and this is in a 6-fight sample size for Paulo Costa, 1.32% control time for, 3.93% control time against. And that's in 15 takedown attempts. So Paulo Costa has been very, very efficient with his takedown defense and his defensive wrestling. He's not allowing people to control him on the ground. And he's very, very dangerous on the feet. And when somebody's that dangerous on the feet, as Paulo Costa is, and then you look at those control time numbers and you see that Costa's opponents have only been successful getting fights into control time positions less than 6% of the time in a 6-fight sample size, it leads you to believe that it's going to be difficult for Vettori to get this fight to the ground, you guys. And the longer this fight stays on the feet, do you guys really think that Marvin Vettori is going to win a kickboxing match? I don't think so. I saw Kevin Holland, really getting the best of him on the feet. I mean, he won a striking decision with Jack Hermanson, but that's Jack Hermanson. Andrew Sanchez is different. Carl Roberson, he took him down and subbed him, and that was easy. But Paulo Costa it's not like this guy hasn't fought wrestlers. He's fought Johnny Hendricks. He's fought Yoel Romero, an Olympic silver medalist. I don't see Vettori having success or even winning rounds with the wrestling here, you guys. So then the next step is, okay, so then Paulo Costa is going to knock out Vettori, right? Well, not so fast. Vettori's crazy, crazy tough. He's never been finished. Marvin Vettori's had 23 professional fights. He's never once been finished. So, this was something I was tripping over my words when I was doing stat diggers with DFS by the numbers, but this is, the irresistible force against the immovable object. Who gets the best of this one? Because if this were a 3-round fight, I'd be taking this plus money on Paulo Costa all day and loving it. But what happens if Costa does have a couple of big rounds in the first and second, and then Marvin Vettori doesn't go away? What will Paulo Costa's conditioning look like in the 3rd round, in the 4th round, and even in the 5th? And let's say that Marvin Vettori is offensive wrestling a lot and doing it unsuccessfully. We could even see a situation where Vettori's the first one to gas out because he's trying so hard to get takedowns unsuccessfully that he could gas out first. It's a really hard fight to call, you guys. I just don't know what to think. I don't know what Costa's conditioning is going to look like should this fight get past the 3rd round. I don't know what Vettori's conditioning is going to look like if he feels that the best way is to get this fight to the ground and he's unsuccessful doing it. I mean, are both of these guys going to be completely gassed by the 3rd, and then it's going to look like, Kimbo Slice versus Dada 3000 for the last 2 rounds where they're both just completely gassed? Let's just go over the numbers here real quick. We'll touch on them. 2-inch reach advantage for Vettori, and he's 2 years younger, so a slight tail of the tape advantage. An experience advantage for Vettori. A finishing advantage for Costa without a doubt. A power advantage in the striking without a doubt. A volume advantage in the striking for Costa without a doubt. The grappling and the wrestling obviously goes to Vettori, but Costa has shown good enough defense and is keeping his fights at striking range 94% of the time. So even though Vettori has been getting his fights to control time positions about 36% of the time, we can maybe see that reduced here. And if that gets reduced, I do see Paulo Costa getting the win. The strength of schedule is close, but Vettori has the better win-loss record opponents, and Paulo Costa is fighting the more experienced competition. I'm picking Paulo Costa, you guys. I'm going to say that Paulo Costa is the first guy to finish Marvin Vettori. I will not bet it, though. I hate being the guy that's trying to bet that the first time that something is ever going to happen. That's not how stat guys do it. Stat guys try to stay with the trends. But I don't like this matchup here for Marvin Vettori, so I'm going to call Paulo Costa. I'm going to say 2nd round knockout over Marvin Vettori here. But that's it. That's all 13 fights, you guys. I got to find you guys a greasy 4-leg parlay, and I think we can find one here that might be way more plus money than we're used to. So I told you guys about some bets that I already have, right? So let's start with the Molina Lacerda fight doesn't go to decision, okay? That's going to be the first leg of the parlay. The second leg of the parlay is going to be Worthy Herbert fight doesn't go to decision. The third leg of the parlay is going to be Ricci Oliveira fight doesn't go to decision. So we got 3 legs of the violence parlay here. I'm not going to chicken out and give you Mason Jones. because I want this to be greasy, you guys. Dawson, Glenn, Costa, Vettori, Caceres, Choi, Grant, Trinaldo. Boy, that Negumereanu Villanueva violence, I'm telling you, it's very, very tempting. Very tempting to bet that. But Negumereanu is so tough. Man, maybe that should be the fourth leg. Maybe that one, because that one, what is the fight doesn't go on that one, you guys? Let's see. Can we give you a 4-leg violence parlay? It's at minus 250 on FanDuel right now. Yeah, let's do it, you guys. Ike Villanueva, Nicolae Negumereanu. We're giving you a greasy 4-leg violence parlay on a card where I like the violence. Negumereanu Villanueva, fight doesn't go to decision. Ricci Oliveira, fight doesn't go to decision. Worthy Herbert, fight doesn't go to decision. And Molina Lacerda, fight doesn't go to decision. That's your Uncle Weezy's greasy 4-leg parlay for UFC Vegas 41. That leaves one order of business, you guys, that we have to get to here. It's that time. It's time for Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Who's it going to be this week? Am I going to chicken out and give you guys Mason Jones over a short notice opponent that's never fought in the UFC? No, I can't do it because I haven't even seen this kid fight. I don't even know if he's any good. I hope that I can get on this one. And Nate the Train says Noah Allen. That would be a great ass shaving. That would have been great for last week for me to call that one and say that Nate the Train was going to win by 3rd round anaconda choke. And then I would have been on the Mount Rushmore of UFC cappers if I had called that one. And DFS by the numbers, he's asking if it's Shark Week. And it might be that because simp ass shaving equals Ricci. Yeah, see, some people are thinking about that. Yeah, and that's right. It is ass shaving time. Is it going to be the baby shark? Is the baby shark going to, instead of landing a big bite, is she going to shave ass over Maria Oliveira? It's a definite possibility. And I like her to win this fight quite a bit. But you know what I'm going to do, you guys? I'm going to go a little bit greasier. I'm going to go a little bit greasier for you guys here, man. I'm picking for Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Something that's a little bit closer line, something that I think that none of you guys are going to see coming. The Black Country Banger, Jay Herbert, taking a huge step down in competition, you guys. A huge step down in competition from the likes of Francisco Trinaldo and Renato Moicano is going to be fighting Khama Worthy, a guy who has been knocked out in 7 of his 8 career losses, a guy who is the dictionary definition of chinny. I think the Black Country Banger is going to land a straight right in the first round that is going to separate Khama Worthy from his consciousness in a violent fashion. I am calling for Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week to be Jay, the Black Country Banger Herbert, over Khama, the Death Star Worthy. What do you guys think? What do you guys think, man? Are you with your Uncle Weezy on this one? Is Jay Herbert going to get it done on Saturday? Is he going to sleep Khama Worthy in the first round? Or should I have went a little bit safer? Should I have went with the baby shark over Maria Oliveira here? I can't do it, dude. I can't do it. I'm not doing the simp bet. I'm not doing the lady with 6 professional fights. I have got to go with somebody a little more experienced, a guy who I think is really going to have some success on the feet against Khama Worthy, a guy in Khama Worthy who does not wrestle. And I think that that's going to be a really, really bad place for him. I think the knockout prop right now on Jay Herbert is not where it needs to be in order for me to bet it. The last I saw, I think it was plus 115. Let's see. Jay Herbert by KO, still plus 115 is the only line we have on that. Not juicy enough for me, but if I can find something in the plus 140, plus 150 range, I will be jumping on it, you guys. That's it, you guys. Here we are right at the 1.5 hour mark. like a true professional. I'm getting it done on time. You guys, thank you for spending your Tuesday night with me. Thank you for listening to me kind of get some shit off my chest at the beginning of the show about judging that cost me a couple units today, but it's all right. We're moving on to the next one. You can check out all my bets at betmma.tips/Uncle Weezy. You can always see what action I have this week on this card. Just to give you a quick recap of the action that I have Molina Lacerda fight doesn't go to decision for 2.5 units, and Jeff Molina for a half unit at plus 240 to win inside the distance. I have Worthy Herbert fight doesn't go to decision for 2.4 units at minus 240 to win 1 unit. I have the Ricci Oliveira under 2.5 at plus 165 for 1.5 units. I am considering a money line bet on Paulo Costa at plus 130 or better. And I already gave you guys my 4-leg parlay. I guess that's it, you guys. Thank you for spending your Tuesday evening with me. God bless each and every one of you guys. Let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks. UFC Vegas 41 coming up Saturday. I will see you guys tomorrow. We will be doing the DraftKings show on Pub Sports Radio tomorrow. Normally we would have been doing that today, but DraftKings doesn't even have salaries out yet, I don't think. So we had to postpone it for at least one day. I don't know what time we'll be doing the show, but I will tweet it out when it's ready, when we know when we have that link. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Leave a thumbs up on your way out if you liked the content. I thank you guys for spending your time with me. I'm going to sign off now. Thanks for watching Just a Tip. I thank you. My guy, Smooth Jimmy Apollo, thanks you. Have a great night, everybody. Let's stack some tickets, man. Let's make some money.